Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for joining me on this Monday. Now let's talk about how the window of opportunity is going to start shrinking basically until the end of the year. So in the springtime, the window of opportunity to catch bass, very big. As we get into the summer, a little bit smaller. And then once we get into the fall, even smaller. And what I mean by that, in the springtime, I typically can pick up a chatterbait or a lipless crankbait and just go seek out fish all over the lake. And I don't necessarily have to be too critical of what I'm throwing. As long as I cover enough water, fish enough good areas, I'm going to catch bass. And I think once you get a little bit later into the year, that approach isn't necessarily going to always work. It seems like you have to start matching the hatch. You got to start giving the fish the right baits. I've talked about this in other videos, but in the summertime, if you're not fishing something on the bottom or fishing something on top, you're really not going to catch the quality that you see in the spring. Most of those baits that come through the middle of the water column just don't catch them as well. And the size is really going to fall off rather. So when you get into the summer, I think it's extremely important to start giving them the right colors. You can't just go and throw green pumpkin all over the place and catch them. Now, green pumpkin might be the best option for you on your lake, but it also seems like you've got to really start paying attention to that. And as we get further on in the year, once we get into the fall, it's going to become even tougher. So I've seen it in the fall where you may be around the best fish on the lake. You're in the best fishing area on the entire lake and be throwing the bait that won the tournament there last year, and someone's throwing the bait that the fish haven't seen in 10 years, and they catch 7 a day to your 1 or 2 a day. And that's just how we're kind of going. We're in that direction, and that will happen in a lot of different situations. You may show up to a lake and the only way to catch a keeper bass is on a spook, a big topwater walking bait, or you may need to change your blades on your spinner bait. And typically it's not just so simple that in the fall, smaller bait fish, we're going to downsize our blades. Sometimes the guy that upsizes his blades catches them way better than everybody. And the window of opportunity in the fall is so small that I'm talking maybe 5 bites, all day, 8 hours on the water, 5 bites, and the guy that didn't do it correctly, 1 or 2 bites. So we're not there yet, but we are going in that direction. So in the summertime, I think it is very important to make sure you're throwing the right color before you hunker down and just grind. So for me, I love those plums, red bugs. This is a red bug Magnum trick worm. This works in all your worms. So when you're dragging a worm, if it's a speed worm or a trick worm or a Magnum finesse worm or a Magnum trick worm or a drop shot, whatever it may be, these reddish pinkish color worms just seem like they work, and they work in tannic water. They work in that green tinted water, and they work in the ultra clear water as well. So you really can catch bass on these colors. But like your morning dawns in your robo worms, plum apple, those type colors are typically what I'm going to start with. Now, again, green pumpkin might be the best option. It's just a natural color and it works everywhere, but that's not the end all be all. You do have to try some other colors. And it just seems like in the earlier months, that's not necessarily the case. If you're not getting bit on your favorite color and your favorite bait, you can typically, run to a new spot and it'll work there. But we're getting to those places where fish have been hunkered down for a while. They've been on the same spot. They're going to start seeing a lot of baits, and they don't necessarily have to bite every day. They can slow their metabolism down in these hotter months. They can get in a current break and not have to move a whole lot. It's comfortable. The food's typically coming to them if they are in the current, and they just don't have to bite. They're not feeding up to get ready for the spawn. They're basically just sitting there relaxing. So they're going to see a lot of baits come by. And if you're not giving them exactly what they want, you can have really tough days on the water. So this is the time of year where I think it starts to become important. You got to pay attention to that. And I'm not that guy. I like to keep things as simple as possible. But this is where I've seen me sitting in the back of somebody's boat, dragging something slow for hours, not getting a bite, switching to red bug or something similar to that, and catching one first cast. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.